Welcome to Event Experience by Bizzabo, the podcast where we bring the best and brightest event experience leaders together to share stories, tips, and lessons learned from creating some of the world's biggest events. I'm Rachel Moore, your podcast host. We're about to deep dive into the evolution of event planning, and trust me, this conversation is about to give you all the strategic insights you need to create experiences that actually matter. Gianna Gaudini, Fractional Head of Events at Windsurf, brings the heat on how to forge genuine emotional connections with your attendees, the art of measuring ROI that actually tells a story, and why adaptability isn't just a buzzword. It's your survival skill in a world where business goals shift faster than a Marvel plot twist. Plus, we're about to get real about international event design and why leadership that prioritizes team wellness isn't just a nice to have, it's mission critical for your event experience. Welcome back to another episode of Event Experience. Our guest today is rolling in with 22 years in the events industry. I love bringing y'all expertise. It's very important. And as you can see, we're going to have a whole lot of that today. Today's guest has led events for Google, for Airtable, AWS, and SoftBank Vision Fund. And if that wasn't already impressive enough, she's also a former concert pianist and a marathon runner, and she currently serves as the Fractional Head of Events at Windsurf. I'm delighted to welcome back to the podcast, Gianna Gaudini. Thank you so much for joining us once again here on Event Experience.
So amazing to be here with you again, Rachel.
I love having you here. I love that we talk, we kind of touch base, we circle back and like, okay, let's see where things are these days and stuff like that. I know we asked you this last time you were on the show, but let's ask you this again. It might have changed. What are your go-to on the ground event day shoes that you're using to save yourself for the whole 14 hours or whatever?
Okay, great question. And it has sort of changed. So in the past, everybody I've worked with knows it's Tory Burch wedges because they're professional but comfortable. Nice. And I am known for my Alice and Olivia, colorful dresses like I'm wearing today. However, I am maturing as an event planner and finding that it is much harder to walk around on site in heels of any sort. So now my favorite go-tos are my little Gucci sneakers. Still cute and stylish. I have actually worn them with this dress I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And but way more comfortable and easy on my knees.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's not just the feet, it's the knees. That's for sure. It's the legs, really. So,
yeah.
And then the back.
I'm too old now for the wedges even. Oh, so sad.
I know. Times they are changing, and that's so true. But great recommendation. So that'll be great for our audience to be like, got to get myself a pair. Is there anything that you're listening to, watching, or reading these days that you can't put down? Does not have to be events.
Oh, always. I'm an avid reader, podcast listener. I'm obsessed with newest podcast I'm obsessed with is Healy. This actually goes really well with the leadership questions. It's Healy Cipher, CEO of Boom Pop's new podcast. It's called Don't Be a Jerk. It's so good. I'm obsessed with it. It's really good business/life lessons from good leaders, like leaders that are successful and are not jerks.
Nice.
So I'm obsessed with that. I also am obsessed with Ziva Meditation right now by Emily Fletcher. And I'm just obsessed with her. I would love to be her best friend. So Emily, if you're listening, please
connect
with the battery. And then my fun read right now is, I actually forgot I pre-ordered this. I don't even know when I pre-ordered it, but I'm kind of obsessed with it. Is Gwyneth Paltrow's bio.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It showed up in the mail from Amazon. I'm like, oh, I forgot I ordered this, but this is fun.
You have to dive in now. Be like, okay, let me learn all the things. That'd be a really interesting read. That's cool.
It's really interesting.
Nice. Well, great. Is there a social post or a piece of media or even a hot take about events that you might have found interesting lately?
So I'm an active poster on LinkedIn, and I noticed a lot of people commenting on this post that I was apparently in. I was like, what is this? So I had to listen. It was a link to a podcast. And they're like, I better listen to this and see what was quoted. And it's apparently, let me see if I'm getting their name right, Frennis Marketing's Best of LinkedIn.
Okay.
Field marketing. They do it, I think, every week or two. And they do a 15-minute podcast. They round up the best tidbits that they've gotten on a given topic from people on LinkedIn. Yeah. And it was actually really good. So I'm glad that they tagged me in it because now I follow the show.
That's really cool. I've recently found on a subreddit called like LinkedIn lunacy. And so that's like the opposite end of the spectrum. But I would definitely like to see like, here's some of the better ones of LinkedIn. So I'll have to check that out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
So it's fabulous to have you back on. And I only skated over your bio. Again, it's hard to put 22 years into 2 sentences. So I'm going to stop trying to do that. But I want to toss it back over to you and give you an opportunity. Tell us more about what's your day-to-day like? What are you into these days? What is going on in the Gianna world?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, 22 years of experience, but I am only 28. Let's just be clear.
That's right.
That.
Let's make no mistake about that, everybody.
Started my career at age 5. No, but in all seriousness, yeah. So I've kind of done it all at this point. Started my career on the agency side, went in-house at VCs, big tech, startups, wrote a book, and the book actually forced me to launch my own business because you need an LLC to be a publisher. And so that was where I got my first taste of publicizing myself and selling and running a business part-time. And it's incredibly challenging, but it did give me a taste of what it could be like. And I did take on, I think, 7 advisory positions over the time when I was in-house. And I loved it so much. I kind of just wanted to see what it would be like to run my own business 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that was, to be honest, I've always been a very intentional person. And from the time I told my father I am leaving pre-med and I am going to be an event planner for my career, I also had the goal of running my own business and building towards that. And so this was actually always the intention. It just took me a little bit longer because I ended up in-house at some pretty amazing companies where I was having a great time. But a couple of years ago, I gave myself the chance and the opportunity to see if I would enjoy this. And I absolutely love it so much. So why do I love it? Because I have the ability now to work with different clients at different stages on different types of events. So I typically will work with a few clients at a time, none of them obviously competing with each other. So typically I'll have a startup or 2. They're all in the AI space right now for the most part, although I advise a couple of event-related companies as well. And then I also love the VC space. And so I usually have 1 or 2 VC clients, and they're just very different strategies, very different types of events, different teams involved. But what I love about it is it gives me the ability to go very high strategic and then always go very, also dive down into the tactics. And I use this analogy that I think Ryan, whatever his name is, on $1 Million Listing used, where he said, I just want to sell a house, to just know I can sell a house.
Yeah.
And so it's great to have that breadth doing what I do right now and to just stay fresh with, everything that's going on across events. So I absolutely love it. And there's never a dull moment. And I also love that I don't join a lot of the meetings that I used to feel were a waste of time, quite frankly. And so every meeting I'm in now, it's 100% productive, 100% useful. So I found that my output is now 10x what it was.
Wow.
So I'm very happy right now.
I would imagine, obviously we're going to dig into like a lot of the stuff you shared too and bring all that expertise to bear. But man, you just talked about something that everybody's like, can we get more of that, please? Where I love having meetings about the next meeting that we need to have and meetings about the things I need to do. And then, before you know it, at the end of the day, and I need to go make dinner and I didn't get anything done because of meetings.
And it's just very draining too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I will reveal my age. When I hit 40, I just had this awakening that I don't have endless time and I don't want to waste time anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very intentional about how I manage my time and also my clients' time now.
This will date this podcast a little bit. I didn't see it, but I saw online today, I guess Taylor Swift said something like, my time is a luxury and not everybody can afford it. And it was like, ooh, that's so true. And really way to be protective of that. And I love that you found this niche too, where you're like, look, now I can do these multiple things. Like you said, it's never boring, but you're able to kind of plug and play where it matters to you and where it's meaningful for that client or that brand to put you into play there. Let's dig into some of that experience. I'm actually double entendre with that word because my first question has much to do with it. Across the industry and on this show with our guests, we often hear the terms experience in the context of an event and experiential. quite a bit, and sometimes we hear them used interchangeably. I'd love to hear, like, what do we mean from your perspective? What do we mean by experiential events rather than a marketing event, in quotes?
Well, it's funny that you say that, experiential versus marketing, because when I was at Google, we actually went through quite a transformation as a team over the 9 years I was there. And we started out as the marketing events team. And we were just doing high volume, very low lift. We didn't even have time to measure. I mean, I remember asking my manager at the time, why are we not measuring how these are performing? And she's like, we don't have time. It was like constant, like rinse, repeat, just move, tactical. And we were just hustling. But then there came a point when we grew our team enough and became trusted enough within the broader Google organization that we realized we could actually create a tiering system, and we would support the tier 1 events that were more experiential in nature. And we actually changed the name of our team to Events and Experiences. So this leads me into what the difference is, because I think there's a lot of misconception between the difference, especially internally. So I think experiential, it doesn't necessarily have to do with budget. You don't necessarily need an agency to be producing experiential, which a lot of people believe to be the case. Yeah. I really think the true definition is experiential wants to create an emotional, participatory connection with your audience. It's not a one-way dissemination of information. It's really going to be more emotional in connecting and building that brand, building that trust with your customers in an immersive way. It's usually more engaging when it comes to community, when it comes to engaging the senses, when it comes to creative formats, when it comes to two-way communication. Whereas I would say traditional marketing events are a lot more focused on like one way, we need to get our information out. They're typically a lot more tactical. It's typically a lot more tied to like very clear pipeline goals type of ROI. And I think we're going to chat ROI at some point, and there's a lot of nuance. I do think experiential really helps us prioritize the value of connection in doing business, like the relationship nature of doing business. And it's not always as linear to measure as a straight up marketing tactic. And that's where it can be challenging to prove the value of experiential, because how do you prove the value of a relationship?
Yeah,
it's a little bit harder.
Absolutely. I think this is so thematically aligned too with like what we're hearing from some other guests we've had on the podcast as well, and even on Bizzabo's webinars. Things feel like, from the attendee perspective particularly, but then you get into the actual teams putting these together, it feels like it is expanding, or there needs to be that nuance that you just described. There needs to be that, like, not every event is the same, and our attendees are expecting more. And that includes what you were talking about. Where's the emotion here? It's not just a transaction. It's not just communicating, like you said, in one direction, but there's absolutely a lot more to it. It's more complex, it feels like, right? Yeah. So having defined experiential events, I'd love to ask you too, because, you know, having experienced that, we're going to use that a lot. I know I'm going to be like experiencing the experiential events and being on the experiential, you know, the events and experiences team. But with experiential events, what do you find to be the most important aspect to focus on for successful execution of an experiential event specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start like a little bit more macro and then get into like a few key points that I think are really helpful tactically. I think, you know, really in my experience, the secret sauce is being extremely intentional and focusing on experiences that are going to drive human connection and authentic engagement. And then everything kind of builds off of that. So, you know, it's not just flawless logistics and graphics. It's really like, how do we get into the hearts and minds of our attendees? How do we embody what our brand means in a personified way that is an event, and translate how this event treats people as an extension of how the brand will treat them as a customer, whether it's B2B or B2C. And so, you know, just to break it down in planning, like 3 key rules of thumb, I always start with like, what is the intention behind the participant's journey? I like to say it's not just what is our ROI, it is what is the attendees' ROI. Especially in this day and age, people want to go to events. I mean, every study is showing that. We can all relate. We want to be in authentic in-person environments where we can trust that who we're talking to is a human. But we want to know that we are being catered to on a personal level as well. Yeah. It shouldn't just be one size fits all. People want to feel seen and they want to feel heard. And that drives more connection, engagement with other attendees and your brand. Yeah. And it creates a flywheel. So it's figuring out what do we want those attendees to think, to feel, to do at our event. Yeah. And then you kind of back the experience planning into that. So the other thing is leaving some white space. I think over programming can be the enemy of good experiential, because good experiential has a little wiggle room for those spontaneous connections and moments to happen. And as a planner, you need to also be listening. Will Gudara wrote a wonderful book. It's one of my favorites. And it's all about when he ran his restaurant, it was a lot about listening to what these folks who came to a Michelin star restaurant wanted. And sometimes it was like they were saying, we're in New York, we're here from overseas, we just want to try a New York hot dog. And his staff would like go and buy a hot dog and bring it back and deliver it like in a Michelin star restaurant. And it was so delightful for them.
Nice.
I did this once at Google when I was checking the event app messages and someone said, can I get a Diet Coke around here? And we weren't serving Diet Cokes because it wasn't really something we did on brand. Yeah. But I said, we are going to get this person a Diet Coke. And we did. And he was so delighted, sent the sales rep a message. Like, it doesn't have to be a big extravagant thing. Even it's just making sure your staff are highly engaged and open to listening while on site. Yeah. And then I would say the third component is like really being intentional with your design elements and thinking about how you can make it multisensory. And again, it doesn't have to be budget. It doesn't have to be related to budget. Yeah. You can create wonderful sounds using a playlist, that is free. You can create wonderful smells at your booth, baking fresh cookies. And it's a very inexpensive spend and will draw people in and give them the warm and fuzzies. And then you can do really big sensory and engaging activations using experiential agencies that I love, and happy to share recommendations with your audience if anyone ever needs them. But it can really come in all forms, but it's really, why are we doing this? So what is the purpose behind engaging this sense? Not just let's throw everything at them, because that's not going to work. That will possibly have the opposite effect. Make sure that it is participant-centric. So you really want to aim, everything that you're doing from the attendee's perspective. I like to say, let's start with low-hanging fruit. What are the pain points and how do we eliminate them and create delightful moments instead? And then how are you going to create a lasting memory beyond the experience? Lots of ways to do that. And is this so delightful that it will be shareable, whether it's in the moment or word of mouth? And that's kind of the gold when it comes to really successful experiential, in my experience.
This is also taking me back. I love hearing you say this because we have had you on the podcast before. And I remember on a prior episode, you talked about what you're describing, like really taking care with the design, like every touch point, every sensory touch point that the attendee is going to have, whether that's the touch and feel of a material, the smell, the aroma in around the booth, what they're visually seeing, that and I know from what you had shared at that time, you really put a lot of time and intention, as you said, into that. And this gets back to something you said, you described in your answer as well, where this is all about, as you're designing this and really taking the care and building this from that foundation of how the attendee experiences and has that moment, how they can expect the brand experience to be, that you're really fostering that, saying, we're creating this and helping you feel this way right now. This is what you can expect from here on out from this particular business or brand. And again, why events and particularly experiential events are just so crucial to how a brand interacts with their customers, right?
Yeah, just to give you an example, I saw recently, this wasn't my event, but I thought it was, it's a good example because it shows how you can do the same thing. And one way is experiential and one way is just marketing. So I think it was Google Next, and I'm forgetting who it was. Oh, I think it was Palo Alto Networks, but I'm not 100% sure. They had screen printing of superheroes, really cool looking superheroes in different types on t-shirts. And it was just like, it drew people in, it drew me in, because it was like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's a cool shirt and it's printed here live. Like, I want one. But then they said, okay, well, in order to get one, you have to take 4 of our demos and get like a little card from each of the demos. And it was a cool enough, high stakes enough piece of swag that I was willing to do it. Plus, I just kind of wanted to check out their demos and see if they were good.
Yeah.
And what was great was the demos were great. Like, I actually learned a lot about cybersecurity that I did not know. And it didn't annoy me, because I was like, oh, I'm so glad that they made me go on this journey, because I would not have gone and talked to any of these people doing demos otherwise. So it was actually, I was like, this is so strategic, because they're incentivizing people to engage, but not in a way that feels annoying. Yeah. It's actually enlightening. And then you get a reward at the end. And it's like, they could have easily just given out a shirt and said, do a demo, but they didn't. They made it more of an experience. And so that can be the difference. Just a couple of little tweaks to your strategy can turn something that's straightforward into a little bit more of an experience with your audience.
That's so great. And like you said, the swag can feel like you said, the low-hanging fruit, like, yeah, let's just get some really cool swag, but to really have the intention saying, oh, we're going to make you earn it here, but not in like a big hassly, like, like, it's not like going to try to, sit through a timeshare presentation, right? Where it's
God. I tried that once, never again. I think I used the bathroom like 10 times.
Right. You're like, oh my God, I just how do I escape? Let me get out of here.
Oh, I was like, what did I get myself into?
Exactly. So not aiming for that, but aiming for the complete opposite. That is a value add. And then, you get to walk away with that cool thing that you're going to value and have a memory from. I want to switch gears a little bit, because we're talking about some very successful ways that, and thank you so much too. This is great advice, helping our audience kind of pop off ideas, be like, ooh, I could try this and do that, and really develop these to be better going forward and be successful. So speaking of success, I think you and I and everybody listening can agree that leadership plays a major role in a team's success. How many of us have been there where we're like, okay, my leader, my manager, my supervisor, my director is making or breaking my experience here with getting this stuff done. Their work outcomes, and just as important, and I know this is a big deal for you and it is for us too, personal wellness.
Yeah.
Because my gosh, events professionals, whoa, it is a big priority for you. Can you share with us why it's so important, and how event planners, and more specifically, the individuals who lead them, and anyone who's listening to this, if you're leading a team, this part is for you. How can people do better in this area, and why is it so important?
Yeah, this is so critical and so core to my values and where I'm at this stage in my career. Everybody on your podcast knows that events are not planned by one person, and the success of events are often determined by the success of the team working on them.
We'll be right back with more Event Experience after the break. Behind every great event organizer is software that makes managing the small stuff easy, so you can focus on crafting events that matter. From seamless registration and on-site solutions like the Bizzabox to powerful dashboards and the Click Smart Badge, Bizzabo's Event Experience operating system is your all-in-one solution to planning conferences that captivate and experiences that elevate. Visit Bizzabo.com. That's Bizzabo.com to learn more. We're back with Gianna Gaudini for the segment you'll want to forward to your nearest and dearest event leader.
And you need your team to be healthy. You need them to have high morale, good communication. And ideally, if you're investing all this time in hiring people and training them, you want a durable team. The only way I've been able to recreate my career and have it last as long as it has lasted is I've had to evolve and change the way I operated to a more sustainable level, figuring out how to do things smarter. There is no doubt that our industry is one of the highest stress. Yeah. It's been reported in studies. I don't need to convince anyone here. Everyone I talk to, and I write a weekly newsletter, and everybody tends to comment to me directly on the ones that involve wellness, and they can really relate, and they're really curious in some of the things that I mentioned. So I know that it is a topic that our industry needs to be a little bit more forthcoming with and address it. And I think that we are getting there. I think we're starting to enter a sea change when it comes to this, but it really starts at the top. Yeah. And this is why I will, first of all, not work with people that are not healthy for my team and for me. Yeah. I just will not. I feel that leaders in this industry need to be intentional about protecting the team and also setting an example for kindness and values and sustainability, not just in how we're creating events, but the people that are creating the events. Yeah. And so setting that example I've seen has really empowered my team to feel supported, protected. I call them sometimes the shit umbrella. You guys just put your heads down and I will take it on for you.
Nice.
And when people feel safe, they function so much better. It's I'm a psychology major, so it's a psychological fact that people cannot operate well and they're very stressed if they do not feel safe. So as a leader, it's important to make your people feel safe psychologically in order to be their most creative and productive. What does that mean? You have to lead by example. And so it's being forthcoming that, hey, I'm going to have family dinner with my family and I'll get back to you afterwards, and setting that example that it's okay for them. Yeah. I do not expect people to respond to me on the weekend. And if I'm working on the weekend, I try as hard as I can to schedule send. I do not want my team even thinking they need to respond to me because they are also on top of it. It's modeling other healthy behaviors and honesty and imperfection. Yeah. It's trying to figure out, how to mitigate some of the stress. So I'm constantly checking on workload balance and rebalancing people and re-resourcing as needed to make sure that everybody feels they have the right amount of work. Because if you're overloading someone, even if they're good at it and say they can do it, it's not durable. Yeah. So I could talk forever and ever on this, but those are just a few of the things that I think it takes to be a good leader.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you brought up the scheduling part. I think I even posted on LinkedIn like a year ago or something. I can immediately almost judge the quality of a leader if you can tell they don't know how to use schedule, and they just, because all of us have been there. And even if you never know too, sometimes a leader will be like, oh no, I want you to protect your time. And then they email you at like 11 p.m. at night and you're just like, do I let that sit there or do I need to
or text or Slack, even worse?
Even worse. Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, you are always second guessing like, okay, well, is this a test? Did they mean that? Yeah. But I really appreciate you. All of us can relate to that, whether it's that or some other things. And then you go all the way back to what we've already covered in this episode, but it's like, these are the front line. These are the people who are making your customers and your attendees feel good. If they're not feeling good, how are they supposed to manufacture that, indefinitely?
Right. And on that note, I'm a huge advocate. Anyone who's ever worked for me, be they an agency, a freelancer, an employee, a direct report, they know that I am big on positive reinforcement. Yep. I handwrite notes to everybody. I, before events, send flowers to everybody during the process, during hard times, encouraging your team, rewarding them for good job well done, celebrating the wins. And I also try to lessen the pressure. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings, I use this with my clients, my team, is, look, no matter what, we're going to get data from this event. No matter what, we will learn something. Yeah. We will gather data. And there is no bad data. And events are great for that. They're one of the best marketing initiatives to actually capture data. And then you can use that. So like, if everything isn't perfect, that's great. You know how to optimize. Not a loss. Yeah. And it just kind of takes the pressure valve and releases it a bit for people when you can show that it doesn't have to be flawless to be successful.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Even though all my events are flawless.
You're like, except they are. They're perfect, and the attendees, the data says so too. It's great. Everybody should take this clip and go, you just somehow plan it into the zeitgeist of whatever your team leader, wherever they're living life and be like, just listen to this part and make sure we've got that down. So I am going to bring this back too, because we just talked about data. We just mentioned it. The fact that, you as a leader are saying, look, at the end of the day, the event's going to give us the data we need. And then we can tell, how do we get better at this? And how do we iterate? So let's talk about data in the sense of ROI. Shall we?
Oh, my favorite topic.
Oh, see, I know you always get very excited about this, which is also awesome too, because
they're all my favorite topic. I think I said a great question.
I love this.
They're all.
We'll have you back on a monthly basis. It'll be great. So we all know it's the part we get asked about before, during, and after every event getting planned. How do you approach ROI goals and reporting on them once an event is complete? Inquiring minds want to know. What is your approach?
Yes. Well, first of all, I love that you say it's a question we all get asked. Red flag if you do not get asked what your ROI is. Mm-hmm. It is a huge red flag. And I make sure that when I have clients that tell me there is no ROI objective, I don't take that as an answer.
Yeah.
We define even 2 objectives. Even with social events, there are objectives.
Yeah.
And, even when planning milestone birthdays, for instance, I make sure that I know what is it going to take for this event to be successful to you? Because otherwise, there's no way to know if you're successful. And it anchors all decisions and it anchors the journey that you're planning.
Yeah.
And so start with the end goal in mind. What will success look like for you? Yeah. And what will success look like for your attendees? What will make this event feel like it was a good use of their time? So it's almost the intersection of those 2 when it comes to crafting the objectives. So there's objectives, aka goals, and then there are metrics that you can measure. Some that are easier to measure than others. Some are a bit softer. As I mentioned up front, a lot of the brand ones are a little bit softer to measure and may take a lot more time.
Yeah.
Another pro tip that I would say that's also a red flag for me when planning business events is, are these event objectives aligned to business goals? When they're not, I have seen a much higher percentage of these events get canceled or completely pivoted because things change so quickly and events are so expensive to produce that if they are not somehow attached to the goals of your business, even brand building events should be tied to a broader business goal. For instance, if you're Google and you're doing a brand and reputation event with key opinion formers in attendance, you want to influence the way that they're going to vote on big tech.
Yes.
In the future. That still supports your business objectives.
Yeah.
So it's figuring out how to ladder up to your company's goals and communicate that very clearly. Yeah. This is a huge way to de-risk your plans, your budget. So definitely get clear on what your company's business goals are if you are not already.
Yeah.
And then also just be really clear on your metrics. I see people go for, the quote unquote vanity metrics, like how many people showed up, like how many leads did we get? And okay, well, what is that really telling you? Yeah. What kind of attendees are these? Are these attendees we actually want to talk to, or are we wasting money that we could be spending on more qualified people to be here? So it's, a lot of it is the quality. So it's the quality. It is understanding the customer journey, the sales journey, and how your events are going to influence that positively. Yeah. Are we de-risking deals by building this relationship, by building confidence, by them coming and seeing us live? Mm-hmm. De-risking might be more valuable on big accounts than getting a new small account. So it's getting really crisp on what is really going to drive the most value. Mm-hmm. And what are those big rocks? Positive NPS is a really easy one. Can be hard to measure sometimes without surveys. And the more senior you go, the harder it is. But it's a really good metric to understand, are these people going to be champions? Are they going to spread positive feedback about your brand? Are they going to come back? Are they going to expand business within their companies? So that, it's again, what does NPS mean for the business? Not just, I got an NPS score of XYZ. It's what does that mean? Right. What does that translate to our success? A number of leads is great, but I've had events where we had half the leads but way better business outcomes because they were much more strategic accounts, new logos we wanted to close. So you have to like be a little bit more nuanced in what you're measuring. And then, you know, when it comes to experiential, again, some of them are a little bit more soft.
Yeah.
So it's how do we measure engagement? What is it that we want attendees to do, and are they doing it? Like, okay, if we want brand awareness, how are we going to know that people are aware of our brand? Mm-hmm. Are we getting more subscribers to our socials? Yeah. Are we getting more demos? Are we getting more social shares or responses? Like, what is it that is going to measure some of those goals that you want? Sure. So it's what is the goal? And then like, what are the tactics to prove that it's working? Mm-hmm. And then you're continuously, I think the key to ROI is like, you don't do it once and set your metrics. I see teams do this. They're like, okay, we have a standard set of metrics for all of our events. And this is like our playbook. So this is when we do this. And I'm like, that's great. But has your business strategy changed from quarter to quarter? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Has your company, especially with startups. I mean, like I've been at Windsurf for a year and we've gone through so many insane changes and then got acquired by 2 different companies. Right. You better bet our objectives have changed. Yeah. So it's constantly optimizing and iterating on what those objectives are and how you're going to reach that. And also different events may have different objectives, like different sales cycles. You might need to pivot your objectives a bit based on what the sales team needs towards, you know, the end of the sales cycle or whatever. So it's constantly checking in, optimizing, and taking the time to look at your metrics from events. I'm a big stickler of like tracking all this in one calendar. Yeah. Before we go on to the next event, post-mortem. Mm-hmm. What did we learn so that we can apply that learning to the next? Because again, there's no bad data, but if you don't use the data, you're missing out. So those are just a few pro tips.
And I love that came back from kind of full circle when you were sharing, like you were working on a team where they're like, we don't look at metrics, just go do it. Just go be tactical. And this is so great though, too, but you're like, okay, well, no, because here's what you do need to do. It's such a huge part of that everyone really on the team should probably be looking at all the time. And I think it too, you are confronting it saying that sometimes maybe non-event team people may just assume, yeah, you said it and forget it, we're fine. But you as the event team need to remind them saying, no, things have changed. The quarterly business goal changed from what it was last quarter or last, half of the year. Therefore, we need to change. And that's going to adjust what these numbers are and what our goals are going to be and stuff. So just really great that you bring up that it's gotta be able to be adjustable.
Yeah. I had a client once, and I knew from working with their leadership as a consultant that they were very mindful of spend, budget, optics. And the planning team internally wanted to do all these fun experiences at the event, which were great, all great ideas, but I made them go through the exercise, taking all those ideas and drafting up what is the ROI of this experience? Yeah. What is the ROI of this experience? Like it was that granular, but it really helped them prioritize because they're like, oh yeah, this isn't really like it's cool, but definitely not really doing anything. Yeah. And I said, this way, if you get asked why we spent money on that, you have a crisp answer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a big stickler in doing the work up front. Yeah. And this is why my clients and partners love me and agencies love me, because we do the work up front so that things go smoothly once planning is underway. Yeah. Because you have the responses, you have the strategy, you know why you're doing things and why you're spending money on it. It's just a pro tip that you learn over time.
Finally, our easiest question of all, where can people find and follow you online?
So I'm way too easy to find. I mean, you can just find me at giannagaudini.com, and on that site, you can find how to contact me. You can find all my former podcasts, including the one with you. You can find my book, my blog, my portfolio with fun photos, all the things. Awesome. So that's the best way.
Excellent. All right. Thanks again to Gianna Gaudini for joining us on Event Experience. And thank you for listening. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love to hear it. Connect with us on social and subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you're listening. Also, don't forget to share the show with your colleagues and friends. You can find transcripts of each episode and key takeaways on bizzabo.com/podcast. On behalf of the team, thank you. We'll gather again soon for a new episode of Event Experience.